The Celtic collective versus the board. The battle for the soul of the club. In the East End of Glasgow stands one of football's most sacred grounds, a place of pride, of passion, and of identity. For generations, Celtic Football Club has stood as more than a team. It's a movement, born from charity, community, and faith. But today, a battle rages behind the green and white banners. A battle not fought on the pitch, but in the boardroom. This is the story of the Celtic collective versus the Celtic board. A clash between power and people. A struggle for the soul of a club. From the outside, Celtic appears united, a club built on glory, success, and tradition. But inside the walls of Celtic Park, the cracks have started to show. A growing disconnect between those who run the club and those who live for it. At the top sits the Celtic board, a group of executives and shareholders who see the club as a business empire to protect. They pride themselves on stability, sustainability, and financial control. And to be fair, under their watch, Celtic have remained profitable and dominant in Scottish football. But to the supporters, the heartbeat of Celtic, that stability has come at a cost. A cost measured not in pounds, but in lost ambition. For years, fans have watched European nights slip away, dreams of competing with Europe's elite fading into frustration, transfers missed, talent sold, opportunities gone. The fans looked up and saw a board that seemed content to play it safe, to collect revenue rather than chase greatness. And that frustration gave birth to something new, a movement, a voice that could no longer be ignored. They called themselves the Celtic Collective. The Celtic Collective isn't an official group. It's a wave of supporters, creators, and fan media. Ordinary people who love the club, but refuse to stay silent. They demand transparency. They demand communication. They demand that the club match their passion both on and off the field. They believe Celtic belongs to the people, not to shareholders, not to directors, but to the generations who fill the stands and sing under the floodlights. But that belief quickly brought them into conflict with the board. Behind closed doors, some directors dismissed the collective as loud, unrealistic voices, critics who didn't understand the business realities of modern football. Yet as results dipped and European performances faltered, the fans' frustration only grew stronger. They began asking why Celtic were lagging behind modern clubs with smaller budgets but bigger ambition, why the recruitment strategy was so inconsistent, and why fans were kept in the dark while millions flowed in and out of the club. Tensions reached a boiling point during the 2020 to 2021 season, a campaign that was meant to be historic, the chase for 10 league titles in a row. But instead, it turned into one of the darkest seasons in recent memory. Mismanagement at every level, poor communication, and a sense that the board had lost touch completely with the mood of the support. As results worsened, banners began to appear outside Celtic Park. Messages written not in anger, but in heartbreak. Back the team. Sack the board. Celtic is nothing without its fans. Protests grew louder, hundreds of supporters gathering outside the ground. It wasn't just about losing matches, it was about losing connection. And for many, that season marked the true birth of the Celtic Collective. Through podcasts, YouTube channels, and independent journalism, they gave supporters a new voice. They discussed the truth, without censorship and without corporate spin. And suddenly, the board's polished statements weren't enough to calm the storm. When Ange Postecoglou arrived as manager, hope began to return. The football was reborn, fast, fearless, and filled with spirit. Trophies returned, and for a while it felt like Celtic had rediscovered its magic. But even in success, the tension never truly disappeared. The collective kept asking questions about long-term planning, investment, and how to compete in Europe again. They praised Ange's vision, but they knew the cracks remained in the structure above him. When Ange left for Tottenham Hotspur, many supporters felt déjà vu. Once again, Celtic stood at a crossroads. The board insisted everything was under control, but fans began to question whether lessons had really been learned. Missed transfer windows, conservative spending, and a lack of communication reopened the old wounds. The collective argued that with record profits, the club had no excuse not to push forward, to invest boldly, to match its ambition to its fan base. The board, meanwhile, pointed to sustainability and long-term planning, the same arguments that had caused tension for years. The debate spilled onto the streets, onto the airwaves, and across social media. Some supporters sided with the board, warning that risk could undo years of progress. Others stood with the collective, believing that, without ambition, Celtic would never fulfil its European destiny. And through it all, one truth became clear. This was more than a football debate, it was a cultural divide. At the heart of it all stands Celtic Park, not just a stadium but a symbol, a reminder of why this club exists. It was built by the people, for the people. And no matter who sits in the boardroom, that spirit still lives in the stands. The Celtic collective isn't the enemy, they are the mirror, reflecting what so many supporters feel but cannot always say. They are the reminder that football is more than profit and politics. To this day, the tension continues. The board remains cautious, the collective remains vocal, and the fans remain the heart of it all, watching, waiting, hoping that one day both sides will find common ground, because in the end, Celtic's greatest power has never come from balance sheets. It has come from belief, from unity, from the idea that Celtic belongs to everyone who wears the green and white, sings the songs, and lives the history. The Celtic collective versus the Celtic board. A story still being written, a story of pride and power, passion and purpose. And as long as the fans keep believing, as long as that anthem still echoes across the East End, the true soul of Celtic will never belong to the boardroom. It will always belong to the people. Thanks for watching, hit the like button, and subscribe to Celt 88.